Hello, everyone. So today we are going to talk about dividing fractions. Our essential question is, how do I divide fractions and mixed numbers? So similar to multiplying fractions, we are just continuing to add steps. So we are going to do a lot of multiplying fractions today, but in a way that's a little different than what we might think. So we're starting off with a problem that's asking us to divide the fractions. So let's see how that looks. All right, so we are going to just look at the standard rule for dividing fractions. So this is when you do not have mixed numbers. So when you're dividing fractions, there's 3 steps you need to remember. There's multiple songs about it. You can go on YouTube. You have keep, change, flip. So you might have learned this in previous years, but keep, change, flip. A lot of people call this the KFC method because it's like the restaurant, or KCF is the tip, like that's the order. But it's keep, change, flip. And after you keep, change, flip, then you multiply straight across. So this is what I was talking about, how we will end up multiplying today. So it's very similar to our multiplication rules. So if you do not remember how to do the multiplication rules, you might want to take a look at those rules from Monday. So we have 5/6 divided by 1/3. That's what we, for example, we will have 5/6, and we are dividing by 1/3. So you're trying to figure out, what does this equal? First of all, you know, we need to do is keep, change, flip. So sometimes I typically will just write out KCF. So I remind myself, okay, I know I have to use KCF, we're dividing. So then I'll write out. So I know first K means to keep. So I'm just keeping 5/6 alone. If you notice, this kind of this should remind you of the Leo method, very similar methods. So 5/6, change the division to multiplication. So we are multiplying now. And then flip the second fraction. So instead of 1/3, we're gonna have 3/1. So we have 5 times, and then we just multiply across. 5 times 3 is 15. 6 times 1 is 6. This simplifies further. There's there's 2 6s in 15. And then remainder of 3. Our denominator doesn't change, so it'll still be 6. This actually simplifies further because you can divide both 3 and the 6 by 3. So then you end up with 2.5. All right, so then next we are going to look at dividing with mixed numbers. So instead of dividing just fractions, now we're dividing with mixed numbers. So very similar to how we multiplied. The only step additional now is that we have to change the mixed number to an improper fraction. So we have to use the C effect again. So same process. So first C effect, then KCF. Just like before. So C effect, then KCF. So if let's say, for instance, we have 1.5, and we're dividing by 2 3/4. So we have 1.5 divided by 2 3/4. First, we have to use the C effect. Remember, we're going to use the C effect. So we got 1.5. We got 2 times 1 plus 1, 3/2. And then we're still dividing because we haven't done the KCF yet. We're just converting. So then 2 3/4, 4 times 2 plus 3. So then we end up with 11 Remember, our denominator doesn't change, so it'll still be 4. So this is still the same problem. We just converted it to an improper fraction. So we did our C effect. Now we need to do the KCF. So K, C, and then F. So keep the first fraction, which is 3/2. So we're not changing the 3/2. And then change to multiplication. F. So instead of 11/4, we should have 4/11 because we are flipping. Then you just multiply across from here. So 3 times 4 we know is 12. And then 2 times 11 is 22. Both 12 and 22 can be divided by 2. So then you are just going to simplify to 6/11. Oops, 6/11. All right, that looks like a 6, but that's 11. I just accidentally put a little squiggle. All right, so after that, now we're going to divide with positive and negative numbers, which we did talk about during multiplying fractions as well. So dividing. Now we're doing it with positive and negative numbers. So when we're dividing with positive and negative numbers, we just need to remember our multiplying and dividing rules. So same sign equals positive, different signs equal negative. And what I mean by same sign, you have positive and positive, or a negative and a negative. Different signs, positive and a negative, or a negative and a positive. Any variation of these two, that should get you your final answers. So let's say, for instance, we have 2 1/5. And 1/5. And we're dividing by negative 1/3. So it looks like we only have to convert the first mixed number because this is already a proper fraction, so we do not have to change negative 1/3. So 2 1/5, multiplying, then add. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11/5, divided by negative 1/3. Remember, we don't have to change anything about 1/3. All right, so then same thing, KCF. So keep the first fraction, 11/5, change to multiplication, and then we're going to flip the second fraction, keep the negative symbol, just flip 1/3 to now 3/1. And then don't forget to keep your negative. So now we got 11 times 3. Well, first you need to realize we got a positive times negative, which we should know is a negative answer. So we already know it's negative. Now we do 11 times 3 is 33. And then 5 times 1 is 5. How many 5s go into 33? 6 whole times with 3 left over out of 5. But remember, your answer should be negative, so don't forget to put your negative on the outside. So to summarize the question of how do I divide fractions and mixed numbers, very simple. This is very similar to our multiplying fractions and mixed numbers. So for our summary, you divide fractions by using the KCF method. Then multiplying straight across. And the only thing that changes this, if it's a mixed number, there are mixed numbers. Use the C effect first. So sorry if at any point I went too fast for you. Please, you have the ability to rewind, pause, whatever you need to do. If you have questions, please ask your teacher. Thank you for following along today.